don't like planning domino setups. And that might be a surprise because my projects can seem like they require a lot of planning and a lot of meticulous calculations and drawing, but in reality, I really don't like it. And I want to talk more about that today. But before we get into this podcast style video, I do have an exciting announcement. All of my merch and signed dominoes are now 20% off if you use the code 20domino at checkout. So head on over to heavish5.com/store and go get it while you can. I signed like 500 dominoes last week and shipped them all out to Teespring to fulfill. So they're finally back in stock, as well as H5 shirts, merch, hoodies, domino artist stuff. I did a quick little photo shoot the other day, so here are some images. And these make really awesome gifts for this holiday season, so go get them while you can. Everything will be 20% off until Sunday night, which I believe is tomorrow, so don't miss out. Go get it now. All the links are in the description, and as always, thank you for your continued support. Alright, so back to planning domino setups. Now, before I go into it, I just want to say I do not discredit anyone who plans their setups, and everyone has their own way of making domino projects and their own process for approaching it. So if you plan domino setups and you completely disagree with me, that's totally cool. I'm just sharing my opinion of how I personally approach domino building. So that said, let's get into this. So I first just want to define what a plan is. I am referring to a master plan where you draw out every single domino project, every trick that's going to be built in your project, and you lay it out on this grid. You have lines that connect it, and everything has an order, and that's the plan. And some people, they make super detailed plans, and of course when you're working with a large group of people, a plan like that is necessary, especially if you're trying to communicate a domino idea to them and you have to work together. But what I'm not necessarily talking about is an idea list or a quick little drawing or sketch. That, in a sense, is more open to interpretation because you haven't drawn out the entire project domino to domino, centimeter by centimeter. It's just more of a loose kind of guideline, I guess. So now that we have that out of the way, I think the reason why I don't like making domino plans in terms of master plans is because it constrains me. It feels like I'm not able to innovate as much, and it feels like I'm so locked into whatever this plan is. And I feel like when I approach domino building, a lot of what I do is kind of just made up on the spot, which is actually really interesting because in most of my life, I usually plan everything like in great detail. Like I think ahead, I have a bunch of lists, I have calendars. But when it comes to dominoes, it's kind of like this one thing where I'm okay with being freeform and just kind of thinking of things on the spot. And not only is that faster for how I work, but I also tend to come up with better ideas when I'm just forced to on the spot. I don't know why. Something about the pressure of thinking of something leads to more ideas. Like I can't even explain it. It feels really counterintuitive, but when I can start building and it's just dominoes and when there are no limits, something about that just gets the ideas going, and I'm able to make something that builds off of a simple idea and expand on that even more. For me, I think in a very abstract sort of way, I guess. Like I have visuals in my head and I have concepts of ideas that I want to try and build, and for me it just takes too long sometimes to really draw it out or think about it too much on paper, because if I do start making a plan, I will absolutely overthink the plan and be like, oh no, this structure can't be here because of this and that, or like, oh, the color doesn't kind of work right here, why don't I change it now? And I will probably end up in this loop where I'm constantly fiddling with things in the plan and just taking so long to the point where, oh, I just ran out of my entire build time and I just made this plan and I haven't actually done anything. Which, I mean, I kind of do the planning as I go when I'm building domino setups, which you may have like gotten a hint of that process in my new personal record videos. But I think sometimes just building dominoes and literally just the act of placing a domino and making that decision to put that domino there is the motivation that I need to figure it out how it is. You know, once that domino is placed, you have to work around and problem solve if you do come up with any issues along the way. And, you know, maybe you would have seen that issue if you drew out a full master plan ahead of time. But if you're forced to do that on the spot, you get really creative and you learn how to do that really fast. And I think sometimes that can make it more interesting. I feel like some of my best setups are ones that I haven't planned literally at all, and it makes it more surprising. You know, things kind of just jump out of nowhere. You're forced to put a bunch of bridges and lines and make things that connect in different ways that you normally wouldn't really think of. And, you know, maybe it's not the easiest, straightforward domino project to follow from exact left to right, but with dominoes, I just kind of like that style. There's something about not really knowing what to expect in a way that makes it more exciting. So rather than making a full master plan or floor plan of every single domino, what I like to do instead is just maybe have a list of ideas or a list of concepts that I want to try, or just a couple of sketches here and there as a loose reference, and usually that's enough to kind of lead me in the right direction. However, if I am doing a project for a company or working with someone else, I will try to make a more formal plan, just because it's easier to kind of tell your idea to someone else if you have that laid out. But maybe that's why I sort of like building on my own. Don't get me wrong, I love building with groups, but when I build on my own, it's like you're absolutely in control of every domino that you place, and you don't need to make a plan because the plan is sort of in my head. Even if it's not completely existent, it's like a plan that's always changing, which that can sound super scary for some people, because when someone gets a plan, they want that plan to be the plan. They don't want it to move, and I totally understand that. But when it comes to dominoes, for me, I'm just like, yo, we don't need this plan. Like, let's just build. Like, let's just do something. Let's make something awesome and figure it out on the spot. Because I think it's kind of fun. Like, I think it's like a challenge and a puzzle that you constantly have to figure out when you start building. And I don't know, I just thought this was really interesting. Like, the fact that I plan everything else in my life except dominoes, and just different approaches to domino building. You know, I'd be super curious to know, do you plan out your domino projects, and to what extent do you plan them out? Do you make a master plan for every single project to the exact domino, or do you not plan anything, or do you have like a loose list of ideas like me, or is it somewhere in between that? And also, does it depend on the project? Maybe some projects you'll plan a lot more than others, and what is that factor that makes you plan more? Let's have a discussion. I'm just really curious. And of course, I do want to say, like, I commend everyone who plans their setups. I have mad respect for you to, you know, spend the time to really make out a detailed version of what you build before you actually start setting up dominoes. Sometimes I wish I could make a plan for everything I do, but something about it just makes it feel like it takes so long. I don't know what it is. I just kind of want to build dominoes, you know? That's just my thing. I just like building. Yeah, but would love to know your thoughts down below in the comments. And I do have one more announcement. I'm currently hiring an H5 Domino community manager who can help grow the community and get new people into dominoes. So if you're 16 years or older and you can speak and write English fluently, I highly encourage you to apply now at hevish5.com/apply. The link is in the description. This is a huge opportunity to be a part of the Hevish 5 team, and I'm super excited to start expanding it, hopefully more in the future. So I look forward to reading your application, and don't forget about the merch. That is 20% off until tomorrow night. Link is also in the description. Our featured community member is me and Dominoes, who left this comment on my last video, and I'm very glad to hear that the tutorials are helping you with your own projects, and I wish you all the best in the future. As always, I'm Lily Hevish, and keep on building.